Hi, everybody. I am Lauren Cohen. Let's start this broadcast again. And I'm really happy to be here to share some information with you and hopefully answer some of your questions live and respond to those questions. Oh, I see. They're on they're on StreamYard. Okay. I'm not used to this. Hi, Susan. Hi, Carolyn. Arthur, what do I want? I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you're asking. My stepfather is American and is ill. Can I hire you based on this to get more than my allowed 6 months and be able to work in the USA? Hi, Carolyn. Unfortunately, your stepfather does not give you the ability to get status in the US. It would have to be a direct blood relative, your immediate family, father, mother, sister, brother, or son or daughter. But if you would like to come into the US and run a small business, we can certainly help you with that. And then you can access the US pretty quickly to help him. But unfortunately, outside of that, there's really not a huge amount of options available to you. I'm sorry, I wish there were. Um, but yeah, otherwise, it's the 6 months. So I know my team was asking some questions. Raymond, if you could be so kind as to post the questions that you asked yesterday about the top five reasons why an E2 visa is a great visa, and so on and so forth, that would be super. I'd be happy to try to answer the questions. So a lot of people ask us about E2 visas, and E2 is probably the most popular and definitely the most coveted visa in my book, right behind me. The copy is right behind me. Finding Your Silver Lining in the Business Immigration Process. We talk about the E2 as the coveted visa. Why is it coveted? Because it's only available to people from certain countries that have a treaty with the US. I think there's 84 countries at the moment. The newest country is actually Portugal. So if you're from Brazil and happen to have Portuguese background, you might be able to qualify through your descent from your parents or grandparents or whatever the case may be if we can get you a Portuguese passport. But right now, Brazil does not have access to the E2 visa. The E2 is a treaty investor visa. The treaty is between the US and your home country, and you have to invest in a business in the US. Now, our signature program is How to Immigrate Through Real Estate, and we help people to figure out how to use real estate as a path to immigrate. It's not as simple as buying a house or two and then deciding that you want to move. It doesn't work like that. If it did, probably a lot more people would be doing it. But this is our signature program, and we definitely love to help people to use real estate because we work with so many real estate investors, and this is our specialty. We also love franchises. Franchises are often the quickest and easiest path because they're turnkey and they give people the opportunity to come into the US and run a business that does have a lot of support, marketing support, system support, sometimes financial and budgeting support. And it's kind of a business in a box. And so is our little business called Strategic REI, Strategic Real Estate Investing, which is a turnkey business as well to help real estate investors invest in real estate and secure visas. So what I would love to do, I'm just going to grab a couple of the questions that I had yesterday about the opportunities to invest in the US. Well, I'm sure other people have questions. I'm surprised we haven't seen a million questions so far, but let's talk about what the different visas are. So some people have been asking recently about an L1 visa because an L1 does have a path to a green card. An L1 is an intra-company transfer of a senior executive or manager. So the only way to qualify for that is if you're a senior executive or manager at a foreign country, in a foreign company, and have been in that position for at least one of the past 3 years. And if you do qualify as such, and they are going to be expanding to the US, or they already have business in the US and they're going to be hiring people, then you can potentially come into America as an L1 beneficiary and run the business or operate the business or serve in a senior executive or managerial capacity here in the US, as long as the business in the foreign country continues to operate. Now, another beautiful thing about the L1 is that there is no country requirement. So you can be from any country and potentially qualify for an L1 as long as you meet the criteria. It has to be similar ownership, and it doesn't even have to be a similar business. It just has to be similar ownership. Canadian here, engaged to an American. I have an older son with a Canadian man and a baby with my American fiance. My kids live and I live in Canada. If I wanted to move to the US, is it better to wait to get married until I want to move? Does it make a difference? So, um, your older son, it depends how old your older son is, because you might want to take advantage of an opportunity now and maybe build a business with him to get him access to a visa, because at age 21, children age out. So if he is a Canadian citizen and you want him to come with you, then you'll need to find a path for him to get a visa to live and work in the US with you, or go to school. Now, if you get an E2 or if you get a green card, he will get some benefits from that. If you get a visa or a fiance visa, for example, then he will not be able to work. If you get a green card before he is 21, he will get a green card as your child. I hope that makes sense. And can you please share your name and contact information for me to answer these questions? Because it's very uncomfortable for me to answer questions if I don't know who I'm talking to. And all it's saying to me is Facebook user. So I apologize, but I can't see anything beyond that. So for those of you who have asked questions about my book, Finding Your Silver Lining in the Business Immigration Process, it is available on Amazon. I think it's like $15 in Canada, $10 in the US. You have Amazon Prime, it's free shipping, and it's a great resource for you to access information about all the different visas. There's a bunch of tables and charts in there, and pictorial depictions of different things, so that you can see kind of what the options are and consider how to pursue them and what applies to you. Don't try to make your decisions on your own. Always refer to a qualified expert in the field. Now, people often ask me, are you an immigration attorney? Well, yes, I'm an immigration attorney. Hi, Ashley DZ. That means DEEZ, correct? I'm assuming that's what it means, Ashley D's. And if you want to do me a favor and share your email address, we do have a masterclass coming up next week. I don't know if you guys have registered, but if you share your email address in the chat, Victoria or Raymond, one of my assistants, will send you a link to register for that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put it in the chat right now, or maybe you can, Victoria, if you're able to. That would be great, because it's not actually letting me. Can't post comments to any of your current destinations. Isn't that lovely when technology allows me to do nothing? So if you ask me a technology question, my answer is going to be, I have no idea. That is my answer. So I'm going to ask Victoria to post the link in the chat in case she's not hearing me. Can you please post link to masterclass? I don't know what to say about YouTube. It's telling me that we're on YouTube, but for some reason, wait a minute, let's see. It says you are live on Facebook, on YouTube. I don't know. I can't answer that question, so I'm not sure why we're not live. So yeah. Okay. So let's continue. And hi, Carolyn. Thanks for sharing that. You're a mortgage broker. Cool. Or a mortgage user. Would you say investing in a business may be the easiest way to living and working in the US? Absolutely. Investing in a business is well, getting married is probably the easiest way. But then again, it can also be the hardest way as somebody who's divorced twice. Let's not go down that road, right? Because if not for my second divorce, I probably wouldn't be doing what I do. And so you guys wouldn't benefit from me doing that. But with that being said, investing in a business or in real estate and working with us to pave the path through that investment to a visa is definitely going to be your easiest way to get here and your path of least resistance. So I hope that that's helpful to you. And again, I'm going to ask everybody that's on Facebook to please post your email and your name before I can answer questions, because I can't answer questions blindly. I'm sorry. And all I see is Facebook user asking how much is required to invest in a business. So if you want to post your name so I know who I'm talking to and an email address, that would be great. That way we can at least have a record of, did I just speak Canadian? I think so. A record of who you are so that I know who I'm talking to. I'm sorry, but I am a lawyer and obviously none of this is legal advice. But it's really important to understand that I can't answer questions unless I know who I'm talking to. That's really a big deal. I usually need to at least, thank you, Chris. That's Chris Lukey, Chris Lukey at bell.net. Okay, so thank you. Is that Maureen asking the question, or Moran, about we are looking for short-term condo purchase mainly for short-term rental and resale in 8 to 10 years? So is that Moran dot Mick? Yes? All right, I'll wait for Moran to answer, and in the meantime, I will answer Chris, because Chris has asked the question about, thank you, Moran. Chris has asked the question about how much is required to invest in a business. So this is a tricky answer, because the answer, this is going to sound like a lawyer answer, but it's not, although it was probably written by lawyers. The answer is a substantial amount in a non-marginal business. How's that for great information? Now, our general, or the general consensus on a substantial amount is around 100,000, but it's not always 100,000. If you're investing in real estate, it's going to be about 3 times that. And if you set up a consult with us, we'll explain why, or come to the masterclass next week. Yes, Chris, I got that. Thank you. I'm just wondering if somebody could please post the link to the I'm going to post it in here because it's not letting me post for the masterclass next week. Does everybody see that? Because I posted it through my phone, not on the computer. It's not letting me do it. I don't know. I'm not really great at this stuff. I'm good on Zoom, but StreamYard is not my thing. But in any event, register for the masterclass, Chris, and we'll go through some options that make sense. It's generally around 100,000, give or take. Now it could be a little less or a little more. And again, in real estate, it's significantly more, because the concept is that the funds are supposed to be invested and at risk. Well, in real estate, they don't see that as being an at-risk investment, so the investment threshold is that much higher. So it makes a big difference in terms of what you're investing in. We do not have a list of businesses that are available to purchase, because it's not like that. We have to look at each business individually and each franchise individually. And we have to look at your background and how you fit into that business. It's not just a slam dunk that if you, like, let's say you're, I don't know, let's say you're a teacher and you want to buy a lawn care business, that may not be a fit for you. But if you are a teacher buying a tutoring business, that might be a fit. And we have a great, by the way, we love a particular tutoring franchise that we have offered to a couple of our clients that are already in visa, they already have their visas and so on. So we have a lot of businesses that have proven track records, but we don't have a list. And I will tell you that if you go to a list, you're going to be facing a lot of challenges, because the list, like a lot of business brokers, write E2 eligible or visa eligible. It means nothing, because the business broker doesn't necessarily know if you're going to meet the E2 requirements, if this business is going to meet the E2 requirements for you. They just base it on the price. And also we need to see if you're going to be expanding the business, what are you going to do with the business? So we have to look at each business individually. Best mode of real estate detention would be Canadian Corp or US Corp. I'm not sure what you mean by detention. And I'm not sure who that is. So if you'd like to put your name, I'll try to answer the question, okay? But I don't know who's asking the question. So again, I'll repeat, we need you to please, I'll put this in the chat as well. And could somebody please monitor the chat? Please post your name and email when asking a question. Thank you. Because on StreamYard, where I'm watching this, I can't see who's asking the question. Oh, that was also you, Moran. Okay. So I'm assuming you're asking for the best mode of real estate investment or the best mode of real estate structure. So the structure is always going to be US entity. Do not use your Canadian entity to invest directly in US real estate. You will definitely have a problem. Okay. Now, what happens in terms of the structure in the US is one of our main core lines of business, because we set up generally a 2-entity structure, but we set you up with our cross-border tax advisor and then with our asset protection attorney, and then we get the process done. But it's not one size fits all. So be super careful, because people are going to tell you that it is. And don't think that setting up an LLC is going to be what you need. So I'm going to put a link to our real estate investing landing page in there so you can see what's involved in that. David's David Eng, I think that is. Hi, Canadian. Interested to know how much upfront cost to set up tax and legal structure. Well, there you go. It's right in there. That next link right down below, David, that I put in there, go.investingcrossborders.net/REI. It's $10,000 to set up the whole structure. And that's soup to nuts. The only thing that's additional is your filing fees because we don't know where you're going to file or what entity. So it's relatively nominal, usually a couple $100. So that's our process, and we have a lot of amazing testimonials about that we're happy to share. And by the way, team, please follow up with Denise Evans, as she had promised a testimonial, and she wanted to be she wanted her picture on our next webinar. So please make sure you follow up with her. Okay? Did you guys get that? Thank you. Any more questions? No more questions? I mean, here I am. I thought there'd be a million questions. Okay. So I will ask myself some questions so that I can spawn some discussion, because it seems that I had a lot of interest in us doing this, but there's less questions than I had anticipated. So the main visa, as I mentioned, the main visa is an E2. Then there's an L1, there's an E1, and E1 is based on trade. So it has to be substantial trade between your home country and the US in your business. Now that trade can be in services, that trade can be in products, it can be in a combination of both. And generally speaking, it's the same kind of rule of thumb, around 100,000 in trade back and forth. So for example, let's say that you were running trade shows and getting a lot of clients from the US, and you're providing them with services from Canada through your US company, that could potentially qualify. Chris Lukey, could I invest in a friend's business in Florida and possibly in the future buy it out? So in order to qualify for an E2 visa, you must own 50% of the business. You don't have to own the full business. And sure, if you want to buy it in full in the future, absolutely. But as long as you take a 50% ownership share and your investment is substantial and the business is going to grow as a result of your investment, then that is a possibility that we can look at, yes. Any further questions? I feel like I'm on a stand. Do you have any further questions, Your Honor? Is there anybody here that has a visa that's on the call that recently got a visa, maybe through us or even through somebody else, that would like to share their experience? Okay. Well, I hope that everybody has signed up for the masterclass next week, because we'll be sharing a lot of details and information. Today was more about you asking me questions than it was about me imparting information to you, which I tend to do all the time. But I will say to you, well, here, I'm going to give you access to a download. I'll put it in the chat. Thank you, Rodrigo. I'll put it in the chat after. The download is the 10 steps to successful U.S. real estate investing. This is for anybody from anywhere that should follow these 10 steps to ensure that they have a successful U.S. real estate investing journey, because unless you do this, you'll face legal liability, potentially double taxation, and all kinds of other challenges that you would much prefer to avoid. So, hi, Chris, St. Catharines. I have actually one of my favorite clients is from St. Catharines, and we were just talking yesterday. He's just a lovely guy. He's a realtor from there, and he just got his visa with a cool painting company, and is going to be doing a lot of other fun stuff as well. So he's just a lovely guy. I've never met him in person, but he's become a good friend, and I really enjoy working with him. And he's referred us a bunch of other clients as well. So that's great. Anybody else have any questions before I close the door for today? And by the way, you can also post your questions after, because I'm sure this isn't a great time for absolutely everybody. Doesn't mean I can answer the questions, because I can't answer specific legal questions in this forum, because it is a general forum. And what I would recommend is that you set up a consult with us. And Victoria, can you please put the link to the consult in the chat as well, so that you can set that up with me or with my team when you are ready to do that. And then we will give you specific guidance on what the next steps are. We have a 3-phase program, which is pretty cool, because we take you through the process and make sure that your hand is held every step of the way. So for example, the first phase is finding the business, vetting the business, structuring the business, setting up your entities, getting your tax ID, getting your bank account set up, all of the pre-visa planning stuff, okay? Making sure the business is viable from an E2 perspective. Phase 2 is the business plan and the strategy around that business plan, because a business plan for a visa is different than a business plan for like to raise capital or a traditional business plan. Why? Because the ROI in a traditional business plan is money, and the ROI in a visa business plan is a visa. So your numbers don't have to be as high, because you're not trying to raise money, or you're not trying to build the same type of business. You're trying to achieve a goal of showing that you have a substantial investment in a non-marginal business. So with that being said, I think it's really important to understand the difference between a traditional business plan and a visa business plan. And we work on a strategy around the business plan. We send drafts, we go through them several times. Then in phase 3, we bring in our immigration attorney team. And at that phase, we may make additional changes to the business plan, but by then we've already solidified the business. We've probably started some level of operations. We've got everything in place, and maybe you're even starting to see some income. And you can realize income before you get your visa. You just can't take a salary. And that's a beautiful thing. So for example, my client in the tutoring business had started the business before she got the visa, and she was already having a nice steady income coming in, and now she's able to take a salary for herself because she has the visa. Mainly why a Canadian corp? Well, it's not that a Canadian corp can't, it's that you're going to be subject to double taxation if a Canadian corp owns real estate in the US. So that is why we do not recommend that structure ever. If it's just a passive investment and you're not using it for rental and you're not going to realize income and it's just for your own personal use, then that's a different story. But for a real estate investment, we do not recommend that structure ever. It's actually going to backfire for you. So are there any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry, I was going through the phases of our process. David, is the 10 steps you mentioned included in the 10,000 cost? Yes, all 10 steps are included. Now, some of them, like if you're, well, actually, we help you get to the bank. We help you with everything in the 10 steps. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So it's a full service process. Now, I will say that one of the steps is buying the real estate. So that is obviously not included in the $10,000, because I have no idea what your real estate is going to cost or where you're going to buy it. But as a realtor, I have partners literally all over the country. So all of my clients will get the best service and in wherever it is that they want to invest, whether it's Florida, Arizona, Texas, North Carolina, Michigan, Ohio, wherever, Georgia, you name it. Okay. And again, we'll put the 10 steps download in the chat after, but I would ask again for my team to please put the link to the 10 steps download in the chat, and we'll go from there. Okay. And also put a link to a consult with me, because I think that a lot of these prospective clients and members of our amazing Facebook group would love to set that up and figure out next steps for themselves. And by the way, we do have a lot of clients that start with the real estate investing only and then decide they want a visa because of all the benefits. You get a social security number, you get to access all kinds of 1031 exchange benefits and other stuff, but you need a visa for all of that. And the visa gives you the freedom to go back and forth and make deals and sit at the table and not have so many restrictions on you. So think about a visa, even if you just think that you want to invest in real estate or invest in a business, okay? So thank you. I'm going to sign off for today. And again, if you want to post your questions in the chat, we'll try to answer them, but do come to the masterclass next week. Thank you so much. Bye for now.